Hello everyone, it's April 13th. So before start, I just want to say I read the other people's solution for the hard problem yesterday. The basic idea is the same, you just follow the hints. You do greedy, right? You sort the flowers and you do greedy, go from the highest to the smallest, from the right to left, and then you find how many of those flowers are already exceeding the target, and then you reach the first one that's below the target. Then the goal is to get as many uh, targets as possible, and every time you get one additional target, you have a new value for the remaining, right? For the remaining flowers. Now the question is what is the maximum minimum flowers that can be achieved by the remaining flowers? Now the way I solve it is I create a prefix sum array for the entire thing, and then I use binary search, right? But it's actually a binary search inside another binary search to find the maximum. The solution that I read, they use a very smart implementation, which is instead of doing 2 rounds of binary search to find the maximum minimum flowers that's available, what they do is they don't create a prefix sum. Instead, what they do is they create a cost array where cost I equals the number of new flowers need to be planted for the pots from 0 to I minus 1, such that their values are all the same as the value at pot I, right? So therefore, with this setup, we can binary search on the remaining new flowers on this cost array, and this one will tell you uh, what is the maximum, right? The maximum flower that the remaining new flowers can fit, right? In the original pots, and by doing that, we have the estimate. We have the estimate of what is the maximum minimum value we can achieve without doing anything more. With just maintain the same value as the given number of flowers. And once we find that, and then we can try to increase even more if we have even more remaining values. Now, this method requires only 1 round of binary search, right? 1 round of binary search to find the maximum we can get according to the original, and then we can increase based on that. So it's definitely, I think it's better compared to the one I'm using, but it's still takes some effort to code. So I don't want to go through this trouble. But still, that is a very good problem. You know what? I should put that into the nightmare. That is nightmare, right? That is definitely nightmare level problem. Not sure if I'll ever go through this again, but how should we put it? Oh, there's one we can solve, but how should we put it? Problem like this is definitely. I mean, you say it's hard, right? It's hard, but when you kind of deconstruct it, it's not like hard. And every step you can put in your head, and you're able to figure out. Well, I mean, after you got told the hint, you can figure it out. But this one is hard also because the implementation is pretty hard. A lot of edge cases. But so I'm gonna upvote this for sure. This is a very good one, and I'm going to add it to. This is a nightmare. Right? This is a nightmare. Nightmare doesn't mean it's a bad problem. It just means it's a difficult question. All right, let's try to see what we have today. So the first one is an old problem. Spiral matrix, number 59. Let's solve it. Yeah, 29 things. Yeah, that's the first time I solved it using Java. Ha, I haven't touched Java for I don't know how many years. All right, so we want to spiral, right? Given a positive integer n and an n by n matrix filled with elements from 1 to n squared in a spiral fashion. I remember this one. So we just iterate. Why did I have 3 different solutions for this one? I don't know. One of them might be NumPy. Well, I cannot see right now. I cannot see any other options. So I'll just go with the most naive solution, which will work. Would definitely work. Naive solution means we will have definitely we need to first create a result times n for this in range n, right? So we have I and j. Of course, they all start with a 0, 0, right? So I and j start with a 0, 0, right? And then, oh shoot, and then for v in range 1 to n plus 1, right? So that's not 1 to n plus 1, 1 to n squared, so n times n plus 1, okay? Then we say res ij equal to v, and then we need to move, right? We need to move I. So what we have is j plus equal 1, right? Then we check. We say if j is equal to n, then we need to go down. Ooh, hold on. Let me think. We probably can have di and dj. Okay, let's do this. Di and dj. They are 1 on 1. I don't know. 1 on 1. So basically it says whenever j, so n plus equals dj, right? So whenever j reaches n, then I can change di and dj. So initially di is this, so we can just say oopsie doozy, I plus equal to di. We always do this, all right? And now we just change di and dj. We say if j reaches the end, then di, right? If j, so hold on. So the last one, right? We set up, and then di and dj. Now j moves out, so we should first j moves in, right? And then we change di shall equals to 1, right? Di shall equal to 1 because we want I to go down, and dj will equal to 0 because j I don't want to move. So that's first, right? Okay, so j reached this. Aleph I is reached to n. Okay, what happened when I reach the end? Well, when I reach the end, of course, I equals n minus 1. We put I back, and di becomes 0. dj becomes minus 1. And Aleph j smaller than 0. Okay? Then j will equal to 0. And then di will equal to minus 1. dj will equal to 0. And else, well, we can do Aleph. That's going to be I is smaller than 0. So we go up. Right, and then I will equal to 0, and di will equal to 0, dj will equal to 1. So we do this, and then we return res. Okay. Let's see. So I have 3. So I return this. 1. Let's just do one more. How about let's say 5? Okay. So 5 will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, actually, I don't know. It will be hard. It'll be hard to do. Okay, I'm giving up. Let's just run this. The logic is sound, so I think this one shall be right. Let's see. Oopsie doozy, he just said it's gonna be right. That is not right. What happened? 1, 2, I didn't even have 3. That is weird. Where is 3? It got overlapped. Hold on. So let's start with 0 and 0, right? And then we hit 1. We hit 2. And then we will hit 3, right? As J keeps, oh, I hit 3. Yeah, we can actually observe, right? Observe. I just print. Hold on. Print res. Okay. Yep. And then, oh, when it we need to reset. The reset is wrong. So reset. I need to plus equal 1. We have the reset. Okay. How can we do it better? I just want fewer lines. That's all I want. Too many lines. All right. So I'm gonna say ij, right, equals I plus, and then j plus dj. This is fine, right? And if this, then we say ij will equals to I plus 1 and n minus 1. And then update di and dj, like that. I wonder if I can do this, I don't know, I'll just do it this way. Oh, everyone has to do it. So when I equals n, right, then we j need to be j minus 1. All right, j minus 1. Di dj equals this. Okay, this one ij. So j smaller or equal to 0. So I need to be I minus 1. All right, so di dj. The last one. So j needs to be j plus 1. Di dj. Okay, so I think this one. Oh, what the hell? One, two, three, 4, 5. Yeah, this is not the best way to visualize, right? For row in res, print row, and print this. Oh, we go up. Hold on. I see the problem. So when we go, it should be the first one if it's not 0, right? If j is equal to n, or res ij. So we need to put this one for every single one of them. Right? And then the j value needs to change instead of n minus 1, right? So we just hit here that we cannot do, so it shall be j minus 1, right? Because I add a j and a j is wrong, so it needs to be j minus 1. So this shall be I minus 1, right? And this shall be j is smaller than 0, or this, right? So it should be j plus 1, right? It should be I plus 1. Okay. Index out of range. That is interesting. Oh. Wait, hold on. So j is equal to n. I have an or. So like if j is equal to n and then you really go, how would this have 4, 4, 5? So we're going down. Oh, because, oh wait, hold on. J is equal to n. J is not equal to n. J is not equal to n, so we check for this. Now this should only be checked if we're going that direction, right? So it has to be if dj is equal to 1 and this. So we specify which direction we're moving, right? We specify which direction we're moving. And this one is going to be I, di is equal to 1. And, oh, we are doing this at every single time. So we can check this. Now this one is more logically, it's easier for me to understand. So this one be gj is equal to minus 1, right? So we're going left and this. And the last one is di equal to minus 1 and okay, now we're good. Man, this is just very convoluted. Did I use the same method last time? I don't feel like it's that convoluted. Yeah, I don't remember. So why don't we just pick our brains, take a look at what we have in the past. This one's what? Number 59. Okay. The analysis itself requires a bit of thinking, but overall, not too difficult. It's O(n) squared, right? All right, let's take a look. What we have in the past. This is a 28 milliseconds. We have directions. Okay. Doesn't have anything different. Oh, look at this. Oh, change direction. Look at this. Look at this. This one I like this one. It says if it's within the range, of if I is not in the range, or j is not in range, or if this is and then what do we do? That is the key. That is the key. So what does this mean? So whatever di is, then dj becomes the same. Yeah, if di doesn't initially is j moving but I doesn't move, now become j doesn't move but I move, and I have to move in the opposite direction. Oh yeah, this is good. This is very good. So yep, let's code this up. I like this one. Better solution. I think this one still, it's a convoluted, but I feel like it's better than what I first attempted. So better implementation from previous attempts. The key observation is that each time we change direction, di and dj follows this relationship. Di dj equals dj minus di. Yeah, think about this. Alright, so for this, we can always say we set up to this, and then we check and say if that'll be too long. Let's say ni nj, right, equals I plus di, j plus dj. Right, we say if not 0 smaller equal to ni smaller than n, or not 0 smaller equal to nj smaller to n, or res ni nj, right? It's not 0. So any of this happens, that means we have reached, we either go outside or we have reached something we have hit before, so we need to update, and this is the update. Yeah, this is where magic happens. And after that, we simply say ij equals ninj. So solution 2. Ooh, list out of range. How does that come to pass? Oh, I cannot do this. I see, I have to go I plus di, j plus dj. So I don't move first, right? I don't move first. I tested it, and then I move. Yeah. Okay. So that's that, and let's move on. So this is a new problem. Dota 2 Senate. In the world of Dota 2, yeah, never really got interested in this game. I like watching it when I was in college. I like watching, really good players play it, but I never really played. I did play once or twice, but Lord, that thing has a very high learning curve. And if you really get into it, it's going to be very interesting. But the learning curve is just too much for me to learn. I don't have enough mental capacity for a high learning curve games at the moment. I have one with Diablo. That one has a high learning curve, and actually for me right now, I'm still on the ascent of the learning curve. But Dota 2 is just, I mean, there's so many recipes that you need to know, right? And so many heroes. So many characters you need to know what their skills are, and all those are just so overwhelming. There's so many. Like you have to devote a lot of time in this. I was like, nah, not for me. Too lazy. All right. Anyway, so Dara 2 Senate consists radiant and dire, right? That's what they call it? Radiant and dire. I mean, the one I played was in Chinese, so it's different. Anyway, so the Senate consists of senators coming from two parties. Now the Senate wants to decide on a change in the Dota 2 game. The voting for this change is a round-based procedure. Each round, each senator can exercise one of the two rights. Ban one senator's right. A senator can make another senator lose all his rights in this. What does it have anything to do with Dota 2? I know, like when you choose a characters, you can ban certain characters. I think each team has a few bans. That plays into the strategy, right? But yeah, I don't think it's had anything to do with Dota 2. I don't know. I don't know the game. So they can make another senator lose all his rights in this and all the following rounds. So if you ban a senator, then he just cannot make any choices. Announce the victory. If this senator found the senators who still have rights to vote are all from the same party, he can announce the victory and decide on the change in the game. Okay, so given a string Senate representing each senator's party belonging, the characters R and D represent the radiant party and the dire party. Then if there are n senators, the size of the given string will be n, okay? The round-based procedure starts from the first senator to the last senator in the given order. This procedure will last until the end of voting. All the senators who have lost their rights will be skipped during the procedure. Suppose every senator is smart enough and will play the best strategy for his own party. Predict which party will finally announce the victory and change the game. The output should be radiant or dire. Alright, so given R and D, so each one we can ban one senator's right. So you know which senator you want to ban? I mean, you probably want to ban the senator from the other party. Or you can announce victory if only people remaining. So for R, I would just ban D, right? I ban it, and then it's all me, then I can declare victory. Yeah. Can just announce victory. Okay. RDD. So for the first one, I ban, and then this one can ban him, right? If I don't ban, if I don't ban, I don't do anything. I cannot declare victory. So the only option I can do is ban, right? I can just ban in round one. I can should ban anyone, right? I can make another senator lose all his rights. I can ban anyone. It doesn't have to be the next one, but you just ban one. And the third senator comes from Dire, and he can ban the first senator's right. So if you think about this, the only action that can be done is banning, right? Because you can only announce under one condition, but you can ban under all other conditions. So if a person can ban, then definitely you ban, because you either ban or you don't do anything. Why would you not do anything? You want to ban other people, right? So for each senator, for each party, you want to find another party to ban. And it also doesn't matter which order you ban, right? So this problem becomes, we can turn that, let's say we use a counter to count how many people, how many senators are in the dire, how many is in the radiant. And then we just need to know who goes, The order does matter. The order does matter. Okay. The order does matter. But it matters in a way, just it's just the order, who goes first. So the first one will definitely pick one of the D to ban. Okay, so I ban one of the D's. And then the second one, if it's a D, then we'll pick one of the other party to ban. So we just ban. So every time we try to ban, but does the order of banning matter? Maybe the order matters. Wait, hold on. Does it matter? If I don't ban the one right next to me, I ban somebody further down. Okay. Yeah, I don't think the banning order matters as much, because no matter what, if I ban someone, right, and then doesn't matter where I ban them, I can ban them early, I can ban them late, it won't affect. You know what? I think it does affect. Hold on, let me think about it. It does affect. RD, RD. All right, think about RD, RD. RD, RD. If the first R I ban the last one, then this D can ban this. Oh, then this R ban this. Oh, okay, hold on. It doesn't matter. I was thinking if R I ban this, and this R can ban this. Okay, so in it's a bad example. In this example, it doesn't matter. So, given a number of R's and a number of D's, right? And each R can ban one D in one round. So, if I banned the D before the next R, it's always better than if I ban the D after the next R. Because if I ban the D before the next R, then we are reducing the chance. All right, we're reducing. Hold on, are we reducing any chance? Yeah, like in this case, if I ban this D, then we'll have two R's, right? If I ban this D, then at the end of the round, we only have one R. So it does matter. It does matter if I. So he's saying we need to ban. So it will be a bunch of R's, it will be a bunch of D's, right? And then when I ban people, if I ban it like in a further down, then those not getting affected. So we have a lot more chance for them to counterattack. Right? I can imagine if I counterattack. everyone acting to the best. So, okay, let me do this. Maybe we can build up the scenarios. If it's RD, it's going to be R. If it's DR, it's going to be D, right? Okay, so if we start reading, right, and then we have an RD show up, we know it's R, and then we look for the next one. Okay, next one's D. So we know RD will result in R, no matter what. Yeah, it doesn't work. Hold on, if we have one party more than the other, all right? So we have one party more than the other, like say RRDDD, something like that. And then no matter what, right? No matter what, because each R can only remove one D and each D can only remove one R. So if I have one party is more than the other, and the worst scenario is you give the minority, right? You give the minority an early edge to remove. Ooh, this one. Hold on. You give the minority an early edge to remove this, and then you have this. You can remove this, and then that become R. It's very interesting. If it's 2 times more, that's the thing. But still, I mean, if they follow a certain order. All right, let me think again. We have certain R's and certain D's, right? So as we go through, each R will neutralize a D no matter what, right? And each D will neutralize a R no matter what. So after one round is done, no matter what, we're gonna lose so if R goes first, so the D you can remove the R, right? So if everyone will remove the R and D behind us, so we can reduce the casualty, right? We can reduce the casualty. So if I have an R and I remove a D, that means there's one less D to remove R, right? Yeah, that would be the best strategy to remove the D right next to you for R, to remove the next D, okay? So let's say we remove the next D. Well, that's because if you don't remove, then you give D one more chance to remove you, right? Even if you remove something down the line, then it will hit that D, and that D can neutralize one of the R's down the line, right? And then you will have one less chance to remove another D. So the best practice for each one is to neutralize the D, right, and neutralize the other party right next to you. Now we can find, right, the next using binary search, but the issue is when you binary search and remove that, what value you put in there, right? What value do you put in there? Maybe using stack? Enjoy. If you're using stack, let's say first is R, right? Next is D. So when it's not the same, I remove the D. Okay? And next is R. So like I remove a value, right? Then I push a new value that's then this one is in action. And now if I push an R, then it's in action. And I'll push a D, we're gonna remove D. Okay. And then we move the point forward. So given RD, right, I can say I'll push in R, and then R is the starting, and that's where the action is. And now I push in a D, and then it's different from R, so I just don't push, right? And then we move the pointer forward. And now we push in R again, and it is decision maker right now. So it's not the one being made. So we don't move. And now D comes in. It's not a decision maker. So this gets removed. Right? And then we have R and R. Okay. So in the center, so we have R, and now we have D, and now we remove the D, and decision making comes here. And now D comes in. Okay. D comes in, and what do we do when D comes in? Well, when D comes in, D don't come in yet, right? Because D is the new thing coming in, but I know when it comes in, this is the decision making right now. And we look to the left. We look to the left because why do you look to the left? Because you can, for D, any of the enemy that's already in the stack is in front of you, which means they're gonna remove you in the next step. So for you, a late comer, right? A late comer. So you always look back, right? You look back to see if that's an ally. If it's an ally is already in the stack, then your goal is to remove the next one. If it's not an ally in it, then if you don't remove that, that's going to remove you, right? I'm not sure. Does that work? Yeah, let's try R D D D. R D D D. I think the result should be R because the first R remove one, second R remove one, and D comes in. They can only remove one R, and R can remove D. So R D D D should be R. So in this case, R quotient in, right, which is the decision maker, and now next is R, and because it's the same, so we don't move the decision maker because we haven't moved yet, right? And now a D comes in, and the D comes in, and we check the current decision maker is R, so this one remove, and then we move decision maker forward, and now a new D comes in, decision maker is R, so we remove this one as well, right? And then move forward, and D comes in, the last D comes in, and this one is the decision maker, and it look to inside, and it look to the left, and then its job is to remove, because to have the previous one, so its job is to remove this, okay? So not D, and then this one goes forward, and then we exhaust it. So push one this back again, and then and we don't have anything more. Oh, then hold on. Oh, then we run the same thing again. And now we have R and D, and then we get a new stack, right? We get a new stack, and then we say we're pushing R, the first, and that's the decision maker, and now D, and then we can remove D, and then that's it. So now we have R all by itself. When do we know and it's the end? Well, we know it's the end. We can keep count, right? We can keep count. Let's try this. I don't have a proof that this is gonna work, but maybe, who knows? Maybe this is the trick. 690.49. Oh my god, hold on, I typed wrong. 649, there's no 7. 649. Let's try this. All right, so here is my idea. So we're gonna create a stack. I'll create a counter. Okay. Let's say from collections import counter. Okay. So we can say while true. While true. And we say counter equals counter. Stack equals this. New R, then again it's repeating the same thing, right? So it only changes if decision making done, a decision maker is waiting for the next spot. And if the next spot comes in as R, then we go back to the original thing, right? So it doesn't change, go back to the original situation. So they only change if the newcomer comes in as a D, right? So the newcomer comes in as a D. That just means any of the R's to the left, then we have to lose an R. So will result in some R's, right, and a D, and then decision making goes to the next one. And in this case, if it's a new D comes in, it will just keep removing R's. If the new D comes in, it will just keep removing R's and moving forward. Okay, so now let's say we have removing the R, so we have an RRDD situation, and the new decision maker is the next one. Now what if R comes in? If R comes in, it's just gonna remove the D. Right? If look in front is R, so we just remove the D. Right? We'll remove the D, and then this one comes here. What if we have next is R comes in? Then we can remove another D. See, that is the problem. That is the problem. So what do we need to do? What do we need to do here? We need to, oh shoot. Maybe what we can do is after we do this, we don't put it at the end. Can we put it at the front? No, now we're changing the order. Huh. I have no clue how to solve this problem. I'll read the question one more time. Yeah, they have to go in a certain order. And this procedure will last until the end of voting. All the senators who have lost their rights will be skipped during the procedure. Smart enough to play the best strategy for his own party. Predict which party will finally announce the victory. The early party has an advantage because it can cancel the late party, right? It can cancel. That just means cancel. Cancel. R and D. Like if R and D just means we have one R in front of one D, right? And that means this R can cancel this D. And then the D is useless. Which means if I have consecutive, so the whole right will be some consecutive R, could be one or more, some consecutive D, some consecutive R. Like this will be the pattern, right? Some R, some D, some R, some D. So what it just means, the consecutive R's can cancel out, right? Can cancel out the D's, right? And then the D will cancel out the R's, right? But then there is an order. So if I count the total number of consecutive R's and D's using the group by, the Python's group by function, so this will give me RD will give me 1 on 1, right? And I can iterate through. So it's gonna be 1 R, right, and a 1 D, and then this what tells me I have a 1 R, right? So the D that's later on, we have to decrease the total amount. Okay, so the D will decrease to 0, and then we move on to the D, and we need to see how many is remaining, right? How many is remaining? Okay, I can keep count like how much we need to remove. So this D I can remove, and then if it removed to 0, then we just give up, right? And I move on to the next one. The next one we can keep deleting, right? We can keep deleting. Or if it's also remove, so this one can delete. Right, this one can delete the remaining R's. And it doesn't matter. So this one now is the starting position, right? And it tries to remove. If we remove them now, or remove the front, so if I remove these, then they survive. But then so it doesn't really matter if I remove front or back. So every time I can remove, it's a global remove. All right, it's a global remove. So in here, I just do a global remove on the R. So at the D, will do a global remove at the R. So I know the global, but advantage is provided if you are the first person to move, right? Because you can reduce other people. So so everybody when they remove, they shall remove the leftmost, right? The leftmost. Okay. So still, what to do? Hold on. You're saying the actual position doesn't matter. Right, it doesn't matter, right? If I can remove, right, remove like ahead of me or remove behind me, that means the same. Because if I remove ahead of me, that means I'm under risk in the next round. Have removed behind me, that I'm the risk of the current round. So no matter what, right, it should be the same, which means on a given this much, and I remove that, and now it's the that turn. And they can remove. So how much do they remove? Hmm. Let me think. Let me think. Because it doesn't matter how you remove. Okay, so let's say we start with an RD fashion, and then we have just a certain count. Okay, what do we say? We say we neutralize. If we have a lot of R, and then we just find all the D's that we neutralize. And what if we have small R but lots of D's? And we still neutralize, right? Neutralize. So no matter how many R I have, so it's always going to be a certain stretch of R, certain stretch of D. So what we do is we just neutralize the first, right? So okay. So we can say the R and the D, we look at these two and we try to neutralize them. And if we have a large amount of R, so all of these D gone, and now we have a new R comes in, so we're forming so I could have the remaining R's, right? Have the remaining R's and put in the new R, so now we try to neutralize the next one. Okay, so that's fine. Now what if we have fewer R's but lots more D? And then these R's we can neutralize, then we have these much of D. And then it's gonna be D to neutralize R. That might work. That might work. So in case of R, R, D, 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 we basically have R3, R2, and D3, right? So R2, D3 after the first round, we become, so R2, we have D3, and so 2 and 3, so we can neutralize 2 Ds, right? So we're gonna become D1, right? We become D1. And when it's D1, we can look to the front and look to the back, right? So everybody actually looks to the front or the back, and then we can neutralize, right? We can neutralize. And we can neutralize to the back. If we have something in the back, it doesn't really matter. We can neutralize the back. We don't have to always neutralize the front. It's only when there's nothing on the back, then we neutralize the front, right? And then the front will reduce to R1. So the next round, R1, we neutralize D, and then it's 1. Okay, so how do we implement this? So what we can say is we have R, and then the total count, right? And then the number that hasn't been used. Okay, so we have number haven't been used is going to be 2, right? And then okay, that's the first one. And then we hit the next one, right? And the next one, when we hit it, we evaluate, right? We evaluate. So the number of decision making compared to the number of the newcomers. And then we can reduce the newcomers total down to this, right? And then decision making will down to this as well. And this will become 0. So the newcomer comes in, it has 1 decision making, right? And then, yeah, so this is done when newcomer push in. And now, we always look at the last one. So for the last one, I look to so either neutralize that, or if it cannot be neutralized, wait, hold on, because I'm the decision maker. If I neutralize that, there'll be still some left. Now I have the same problem. I have the same problem. Oh, I'm getting stuck. Do we have a hint? I need a hint. Let's say related topic. String, greedy, and queue. Greedy. I'm thinking about greedy, right? They will be executed first. So if I have a newly come in, and that's my problem. If I have some R gets inside, what do we do? What do we do? So we have R, right, and then let's say D, D, R, D, D. R, R, D, D, R. So R, D, D, so R, R, D, we'll remove this R. I can remove this D. Wait, hold on. That's still not right. So in this case, now D comes in. Oh, when D comes in, remove this R comes in. Remove D. Now D comes in. So okay, so we have a situation of D, R, R, and then the decision making is the next one. And then now D comes in. And what do we do in this case? Well, in this case, D comes in. I can now go to the front. I will remove this. Right? So now become DRD in the next one. Right? DRD in the next one. So, what are you saying? If the next one is D, now we have a trouble. Right? Unless we put all the R's together. Okay, so I know how many. And now next one is D, right? Always going to be D. And then it's on the R's. So we can decide how many D's to remove. You know, we can remove all the D's. And next will be R coming in, so we can increment this. And now if D comes in, we have more D's. Oh, hold on, D comes in, right? And then we remove some of the D, but not all of them, so we have some D left, right? And then decision making to D, and then D you can choose. I'm going to reduce some of the R's. And once it's done, we have R, right? We have some R, we have some R, some D, and decision making is not on any one of these. Now we're coming in. Now we're coming in if it's not R, right? Then we can try to remove D. But if we cannot remove all the D, then it becomes R, and decision making go here, right? And now if R comes in again, right? If R comes in again, we see the previous is R, so we can pop this R, we combine these together, right? We combine these together, and I have certain amount, so we can keep reducing this, and then we push it in. Okay, so if it's R comes in, it's actually fine. We can keep removing. But now if it's D comes in, and then we can start removing the R's, right? When removing the R's, remove. If we can remove all of these R's, then we can join the previous D. If I cannot remove all the R's, then we just have a new D here. Now we have a new D here. Now we open up the new possibilities. So what this is saying is every time a new R or D comes in, I either join the previous and then clear out the behind, or I clear out. This might work. This actually might work. It actually might work. So the only complication is the beginning. So because the first R comes in, they will always be the, whatchamacallit, they will always be the starting. So we also need to note how many is active, right? Like haven't been used before. So we have that, we have the count, and then D comes in, right? D comes in, and then we just check. If all of them can be neutralized, and they will be neutralized. If not all of them will be neutralized, which is fine, right? It's not all of them will be neutralized, then we will neutralize as many as we can, right? And now we have something remaining, and then push this in, and that's the current number of active. The next one coming in, if it's the same, then we combine these two, increase the number of active. If they're not the same, right? If they're not the same, then what active is here, right? So they're not the same, then the active is here, so they're not the same. So we will try to remove some of those, right? And moving on, active becomes there. The new coming in. Wait, hold on. So the active will always be the newcomer, right? Well, depends. Oh yeah, if the newcomer, so if we think about that, that's actually like a stack to me, right? So this is the active. So newcoming either all gone, or newcoming some gone, right? And then remaining, and active becomes the newcomer, right? And then if the newcomer is the same, then we increase, right? We just merge that, so we have more newcomers, more active members than newcomer. And if it's not the same, then we'll try to neutralize that. So either you completely neutralize or neutralize some, and then move the newcomers there, right? And then once we're done, we'll get an RD, right? And then we just do this all over again. This is just my work. Wait, hold on. So what if I neutralized everything? I neutralize the new one. Oh, I just wait. I wait. I don't have to make another move. I can wait. Right? I can wait. And a new one comes in. I just increase it. Eventually, I have some. I just go back to the front. This will work. But it's kind of late today. So I am going to continue with this tomorrow. So unfinished. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And then keep working on this. Adios.